In the hushed rhythm of suburban life, where every dawn promised continuity, Mara Ellis clung to the fragile threads of her world, a devoted wife pouring love into the cracks of routine, a mother shielding her daughter from unseen storms. Yet, faint echoes of betrayal stirred in the silence, testing the boundaries of trust and illusion, drawing her toward an awakening she wasn't ready to face. As sunlight began to creep into their home, the morning light filtered through the half-drawn blinds, casting slatted shadows across the kitchen counter, like bars on a forgotten cage. Mara moved through the routine on autopilot, her hands steady as she poured coffee into mugs. Black for Ethan, a splash of milk for Nora. The house hummed with the low drone of normalcy, the fridge's faint buzz, the distant clatter of Nora rummaging in her room upstairs. Calm settled over her like a worn shawl, familiar and fraying at the edges. She reached for the sugar bowl, kept in its usual spot beside the toaster, but her fingers met empty space. Frowning, she scanned the counter, clutter of mail, a stray spoon, then pulled open the drawer beneath. Nothing. The bowl, a chipped ceramic relic from their early marriage, was gone. Her pulse quickened, a subtle shift from the even rhythm of breakfast prep. Where had she last seen it? Last night, after dinner, when Ethan had lingered in the kitchen, phone in hand, his laughter too sharp for a work call. Upstairs, Nora's footsteps padded down the hall. Mara glanced at the family photo on the wall, the one from Nora's graduation, all three of them smiling, arms linked. A hairline crack spiderwebbed the glass now, right across Ethan's face. She'd noticed it weeks ago, but hadn't replaced the frame. It caught the light oddly, distorting his grin into something fractured. "Nora, have you seen the sugar bowl?" Mara's voice carried up the stairs, casual but edged, testing the air. Nora appeared at the bottom, backpack slung over one shoulder, her dark hair tousled. She paused, eyes flicking to the counter, then to her mother. A silent beat passed between them, an exchange of glances that lingered a fraction too long. Nora's wide with unspoken curiosity, Mara's narrowing with the first prick of doubt. "No, Mom. Maybe Dad moved it?" The word hung there, innocent yet loaded. Mara nodded, forcing a smile, but inside, the calm cracked open. Should she let it go, fold back into the routine, or dig? The bowl was small, trivial, except it wasn't. It was the thread pulling at the seam of their days, unraveling what she'd pretended held fast. She turned back to the counter, hands trembling slightly as she stirred her coffee without sugar, the bitterness blooming on her tongue. Nora watched her for a moment, then stepped closer, voice soft. "You okay? You look worried." Mara met her daughter's gaze again, the crack in the frame reflecting in her peripheral vision. Worry, or the start of something she couldn't ignore? The house felt smaller, the air thicker, as if the missing bowl had slipped through a hidden door, inviting questions that might flood the room. What else was gone, really? Hidden in plain sight. A few days later, as the unease lingered, Mara finally crossed a line she hadn't meant to. Mara's hands trembled as she clutched Ethan's phone, the screen's glow casting a cold pallor over the kitchen counter. It was supposed to be a quick check, his forgotten device buzzing in the hallway while he showered upstairs. But the notification from Cole snagged her like a thorn. "Missed you last night. When can we talk?" Her breath hitched, a shiver rippling through her chest, threatening to buckle her knees. No, not this. Not the shadow she'd sensed for months. The late nights he dismissed as work stress. The way his eyes slid past hers at dinner. She sank into the chair, the wooden legs scraping softly against the tile, like a whispered accusation. The phone felt heavier now, a Pandora's box disguised as sleek metal and glass, her own lifeline turned weapon. Fingers hovering, she unlocked it with the code she shouldn't know, but had memorized from years of shared routines. Messages scrolled open, each one a gut punch. "I can't stop thinking about you." From Isabel, 2 weeks ago. Ethan's reply, "Soon. Family first." Then photos, intimate, blurred edges from a hurried shot in what looked like a motel room. Her mind raced, piecing fragments. The cologne she didn't recognize, the business trip last month, Nora's offhand comment about Dad seeming weirdly happy. Tremors built in her arms, panic clawing up her throat. What if this was real? What if the life she'd built, soccer practices, Sunday pancakes, the illusion of us, was ash already? But denial was a luxury she couldn't afford. Not anymore. She scrolled deeper, heart pounding like a trapped bird, hunting for proof in deleted threads and call logs. A voice note from Isabel. "Ethan, I feel awful. Mara's so kind. Does she suspect?" His response, typed hastily, "No, and it stays that way." The words blurred through unshed tears, but something shifted inside her, a spark of resolve igniting amid the quake. She wasn't the victim here. She was the one uncovering the rot. If truth was buried, she'd dig it out, no matter the cost. For Nora, who slept upstairs, oblivious but sensing the cracks. For herself, before the lies swallowed her whole. The shower shut off overhead. Mara pocketed the phone, her grip steady now, decisions crystallizing. She'd confront him soon. But first, more evidence. The hidden could unravel. Starting tonight, would it confirm everything she'd feared? And when it did, could she hold the pieces without shattering? That evening, after a tense dinner, where the missing sugar bowl's absence still echoed unspoken, Mara waited until Nora had gone to bed. The kitchen light hummed faintly, casting long shadows across the linoleum where Mara stood, her fingers gripping the edge of the counter like an anchor. Dinner plates sat stacked in the sink, remnants of a meal she'd forced down with mechanical bites. Ethan shuffled in from the garage, loosening his tie, his eyes flicking to the clock. 10:47 p.m. Another late night. "Ethan," she said, voice steady but edged, like a blade testing its sharpness. She'd rehearsed this in the mirror upstairs, the words a quiet rebellion against the knot in her gut. Those calls, the ones that pull you away after Nora's asleep. Who's on the other end? He froze mid-step, jacket half off, then draped it over a chair with deliberate slowness. His face tightened, a flicker of something raw breaking through the fatigue. "Mara, it's nothing. Work stuff. You know how it is." She stepped closer, her resolve hardening like frost on glass. No more silences, no more letting the unspoken fester. "Don't. I've seen the phone light up. The way you step outside, voice low. Tell me." Ethan exhaled, rubbing his neck, the air between them thickening. He glanced toward the hallway, where Nora's door creaked faintly. The girl, probably curled under her covers, ears straining against the house's quiet dread. "Okay," he muttered, voice cracking just once. "It's Isabel, from the office. It started as nothing. Stress, late hours. I messed up, Mara. I'm sorry." The words hung there, a half-buried confession, and for a split second, her heart surged. Truth, finally cracking the surface. She reached for his arm, demanding more, the action pulling her forward. How long? Why her? But he pulled back, eyes darting to the sideboard, where the family photo frame sat. Its glass spiderwebbed from that clumsy drop last Christmas. Smiling faces fractured, but intact. It wasn't like that. he said, voice shifting. Justifications tumbling out like scattered keys. She was just there, listening when things got heavy here. You were so wrapped up with Nora, the routines. I didn't mean to. It's over now. Please, let's not blow this up. Mara's grip loosened, resolve crumbling into a hollow ache. His words, meant to mend, only smeared the truth with excuses, widening the rift. She turned away, staring at the cracked frame, the smiling illusion mocking her. Could these half-spoken pleas ever glue back what was breaking? The hallway shadows deepened, Nora's fear a silent pulse in the walls, as Ethan's hand hovered, unanswered, in the dim. In the days that followed, as Ethan's partial admission festered, Mara dug deeper, leading her to uncover the remnants of his attempt to hide more. Mara's fingers trembled as she unfolded the charred remnant on the kitchen counter, the acrid scent of burnt paper still clinging to the air like a guilty whisper. The edges curled black, brittle as her resolve had been moments before. Ethan had thought fire would erase it. His hasty attempt in the backyard fire pit last night, when he'd slipped out under the guise of clearing autumn leaves. But the flames had betrayed him, leaving jagged words half-preserved. Can't stop seeing her. Isabel, forgive me, but Confusion coiled in her chest, a tangled knot pulling tighter with each fragmented syllable. Was this real, or just another shadow she'd conjured from late-night silences and his averted eyes? She traced the ink, smudged but insistent, her breath shallow in the dim overhead light. The family photo on the wall stared back, smiling faces cracked at the frame's edge. A silent accusation. Part of her wanted to crumple it, feed it back to the flames, bury this under the rug of routine, for Nora's sake, for the fragile piece that still held their mornings together. Silence had been her shield. Why shatter it now? But as she held the paper closer, the heat of its destruction warmed her palm, mocking her hesitation. No, this wasn't protection, it was complicity. The words blurred through unshed tears, then sharpened. Ethan had tried to vanish his shame, but here it was, demanding to be seen. Her heart stuttered, confusion fracturing into something fiercer. A quiet resolve, stealing her spine. She wouldn't let it burn away. Not this time. Slipping the fragment into her pocket, Mara glanced at her phone on the counter. Its screen, dark, but alive with unread possibilities. Nora's room upstairs hummed with muffled music. The girl had been watching her lately, those perceptive eyes catching the cracks. Trust in Ethan was ash now, but with Nora, maybe they could sift through the ruins together. Mara straightened, the weight shifting from dread to purpose. The truth clawed free, unignorable. Could she still choose silence when it screamed for an answer? As the fragments of evidence mounted, the house's tensions began to surface in unexpected moments, pulling Nora into the fray. Mara's fingers trembled as she dusted the mantel, the late afternoon light slanting through the blinds like accusatory bars. The family photo stared back. Her, Ethan, Nora, frozen in a park picnic 2 summers ago. Smiles wide and uncracked. But now, as she wiped the glass, her thumb caught on something jagged. A hairline fracture spider-webbed from the corner, right through Ethan's grinning face, as if the frame itself couldn't bear the weight anymore. She froze, heart thudding. Ethan had begged her that morning over coffee, his voice low and urgent. Let it go, Mara, for Nora. Silence keeps us whole. His eyes pleaded, but she saw the flicker of his secret, the one she'd glimpsed in deleted texts on his phone. The other woman, Isabel, her name a ghost in their bed. No, not silence, Not again. The crack mocked her, a thin scar mirroring the one in her chest. She traced it, feeling the dust of their life settle in the lines. Calm or truth? The question clawed at her, unspoken but alive, pressing against her ribs. Downstairs, Nora's footsteps padded in. Her daughter, 16 and sharp-eyed, sensing the house's hush like a storm brewing. "Mom, you okay up there?" Mara straightened, resolve hardening like glass under pressure. She was done watching, done pretending the fractures would mend themselves. "Nora, come here." Her voice didn't waver. She plucked the phone from her pocket, the one conduit to it all, and thumbed open the app she'd installed last night, tracking Ethan's lies. Nora appeared in the doorway, ponytail askew, concern etching her young face. "Dad called, said you're overreacting, that we should just forget." "Forget?" Mara's laugh was brittle, a hunter's glint in her eye as she pocketed the phone. "Look at this." She held up the frame, the crack catching the light. Nora's breath hitched, stepping closer, fingers brushing the break. "It's like us," Nora whispered, eyes meeting Mara's. Alliance forming in that shared gaze, against the man who'd built walls of words. Tears welled then, hot and unbidden, spilling as the resolve cracked open. Mara pulled Nora close, the frame pressed between them, sharp edges forgotten, but she wouldn't stop. The hunt was on, texts to chase, calls to make, truths to drag into the light. Silence had protected nothing. It had only let the fissures spread. The next morning, that fragile alliance with Nora deepened when the girl pressed for answers she could no longer dodge. The kitchen light hung low, casting long shadows across the scarred wooden table where Mara sat, her fingers tracing the edge of a chipped mug. The air felt thick, laced with the faint bitterness of yesterday's coffee. Nora lingered in the doorway, her school backpack slung over one shoulder, eyes sharp and searching. She'd been watching her mother like this for days. The way Mara stared at nothing, the pauses in her laughter that stretched too long. "Mom?" Nora's voice cut the stillness, tentative but edged. She dropped her bag with a thud and crossed the room, pulling out a chair. "You've been weird. Like, really weird. Is it Dad? Or something else?" Mara's hand froze on the mug. She wanted to smile, to wave it off with the usual, "Just tired, sweetie." But Nora's gaze pinned her. The girl's face, so like her own at that age, open, unguarded, twisted something deep inside. Disconnection had been their shield, a quiet drift that kept the fractures hidden. But now, Nora leaned forward, demanding more. "It's nothing," Mara started, her voice thin, but the words stuck, heavy with the lie. She thought of the sugar bowl, vanished from its spot on the counter, and the crack spidering across the family photo on the fridge. Ethan's late nights, the whispers she couldn't unhear. Nora's eyes narrowed. "Don't. I know something's wrong. You barely look at him anymore. And you're always checking your phone like it's going to explode." As if summoned, Mara's phone buzzed on the counter, once, twice, vibrating against the granite, screen lighting up with Ethan's name. She didn't reach for it, let it hum unanswered, a pulse of avoidance in the room. The disconnection cracked. Nora's face flushed, her voice rising. "Is he cheating? God, Mom, just say it. You're scaring me more by pretending everything's fine." Mara's chest tightened, the internal war raging. Shield Nora from the poison, or let the truth bleed out. Protecting her daughter had been her anchor, but silence was eroding them both. "Nora, I don't know how to—" The words faltered, accusation blooming in Nora's stare, mirroring the betrayal Mara carried alone. The phone went silent, but the vibration lingered in the air, unanswered questions humming between them. Could she hold the illusion together when her daughter's plea tore it open? With Nora's suspicions now mirroring her own, Mara knew she had to confront Ethan fully, no more half measures. The living room air hung heavy, dust motes suspended in the late afternoon light, filtering through half-drawn blinds. Mara stood by the mantel, her fingers tracing the jagged crack in the family photo frame. The one from last summer's picnic, their smiles frozen in false unity. Ethan entered from the kitchen, sleeves rolled up, as if he'd been fixing something mundane to avoid this. But she wouldn't let it slide. Not anymore. "Ethan," she said, voice steady, but laced with the tremor of held-back fury. "We need to talk, now." He paused, eyes flicking to the frame, then away. "Mara, come on. The kids. Nora's upstairs. Can't this wait?" "No." The word sliced the silence, her resistance flaring like a match struck in the dimness. She'd spent weeks circling this moment, piecing together texts on his phone, the late nights, Isabel's hesitant voice on the line. The crack in the glass mirrored the fracture in her chest. Sharp, irreparable. "You've been lying. About her. About us. I want the truth. All of it." Ethan's face tightened, that familiar mask of deflection slipping into place. He stepped closer, hands out in supplication. "It's not what you think, Isabel. She was just someone to talk to. Work stress, you know. I love you, Mara. Our family. This would destroy everything. For Nora's sake. Stop." She held up a hand, the frame wobbling under her touch. The photo inside tilted, Ethan's arm around her looking like a lie etched in silver. Her heart resisted the pull, the old instinct to smooth it over, to protect the routine that had cradled them. But the weight pressed in, the unspoken truths clotting like damp rot in the walls. "Don't use Nora against me, or the family. You've already shattered that." Tears pricked, not from weakness, but from the raw ache of seeing him clearly. Guilt warring with self-preservation in his eyes. He advanced, voice dropping to that manipulative hush. "Please, we can fix this quietly. Therapy, whatever. Don't throw it away over a mistake." A mistake. The word ignited her. Mara gripped the frame tighter, the crack spiderwebbing under her thumb. "It's not a mistake if you hit it. If you chose her, over us." Her voice rose, surprising her, demanding, unyielding. Resistance cracked open, giving way to a deeper current. The slow acceptance of loss, the marriage she'd clung to, the illusion of safety, slipping through her fingers like ash. But in that release, something freed itself. Truth wasn't comfort. It was the blade that cut the chains. Ethan's arguments faltered, his shoulders slumping as the manipulation crumbled. "Mara, tell me," she pressed, softer now, the emotion shifting to a quiet resolve. "Everything, or we're done." The room stilled, the crack in the frame catching the light, a reminder that some breaks couldn't be hidden, only faced. Nora's footsteps creaked overhead, a fragile bridge to what came next. Why chase truth when comfort whispered, "Stay"? The question lingered, unanswered, as the silence stretched. Determined to hear the full story from the source, Mara arranged a meeting with Isabel, carrying the burnt letter as her key. The rain-slicked park bench gleamed under the sodium lamp, a forgotten corner of the suburb where shadows pooled like unspoken regrets. Mara approached Isabel from behind, her footsteps deliberate on the wet gravel, heart pounding with the weight of what she'd pieced together from Ethan's half-deleted texts and Nora's wary glances. Isabel sat hunched, clutching a crumpled paper bag, her face pale and drawn, as if the night had already leached the color from her. "You," Mara said, voice low and edged, stopping just out of arm's reach. I need to hear it from you. All of it. Isabel didn't flinch. She looked up, eyes red-rimmed, and nodded once, slowly. I didn't come here to hide anymore, Mara. Ask what you need. The words hung between them, thick as the damp air. Mara's chest tightened. Not just anger, but a sharper ache. Guilt twisting in her gut for the years she'd ignored the cracks, for the routines she'd clung to while Ethan slipped away. Isabel's remorse poured out then, raw and unfiltered. I've wrecked everything. Your home, your girl's trust. Nora's old enough to sense it, isn't she? I'm the villain here, the one who smiled at family dinners while stealing pieces of your life. But it's not just me, Ethan's guilt. It's eating him. And yours, Mara? I see it in your eyes. We're all complicit in this mess. The confession landed like a blow, stirring Mara's guilt into a storm. Guilt for Ethan's betrayal, for her blindness, for the way Nora's questions at breakfast now carried an undercurrent of shared sorrow, binding them tighter even as the family splintered. Trust in Ethan? It was ash now, scattered. But Nora, that bond felt real, a quiet strength emerging from the wreckage. Mara's throat burned. What now? Do we just carry this? Isabel shook her head, tears tracking down her cheeks. No, it has to come out. All of it. Or it festers forever. The rain picked up, drumming on the leaves overhead, and Mara pocketed the letter, its weight a promise or a curse. Could this guilt forge something? Responsibility, maybe? A path through the ruins? Or would it just bury them deeper? She turned away, the question echoing in the silence, unresolved. Back home, armed with Isabel's words and the full weight of the truth, Mara chose to make her own confession, raw and unfiltered. The camera's red light blinks on like a heartbeat, steady in the dim glow of the living room lamp. Mara sits cross-legged on the worn rug, the phone propped against the cracked family photo frame, its fissure a silent accusation. Her hands tremble as she adjusts the angle, framing her face, eyes shadowed, lips pressed thin. She exhales, the air thick with the scent of rain-dampened curtains, and hits record. Nora, Ethan, I can't do this anymore. The lies we've all swallowed, they're choking us. Her voice cracks, not from rehearsal, but from the raw edge of surrender. She leans closer, the lens capturing the quiver in her jaw. Ethan, you thought I wouldn't find the messages, the late nights that weren't work. Isabel's perfume on your collar, like a ghost in our bed. I saw it all, pieced it together while folding laundry, while you kissed my cheek goodnight. She pauses, fingers twisting the hem of her shirt, the weight of loss settling like lead in her chest. The family she built, dinners at this table, Nora's laughter echoing from upstairs. It's fracturing, irreparable. Tears well, but she doesn't wipe them. Let them fall. Let the camera witness the grief she's buried for months. I wanted to protect you, Nora, to keep your world whole, like mine used to be. But silence isn't love. It's a cage. I've been complicit, pretending for your sake, for the illusion of us. Her breath steadies, a shift rippling through her posture, shoulders square, gaze sharpening into the lens. This is the choice. Not staying or leaving, but unveiling. I'm done hiding. The affair, the betrayal, it's poisoned everything. Ethan, your guilt doesn't erase it. It just delays the rot. Nora, my girl, I should have told you sooner. We're not broken beyond repair, but we can't heal in the dark. Liberation flickers in her eyes, a fierce spark amid the ache. Truth as her anchor, pulling her from denial's depths. She stops recording, the light dying with a soft click. Upstairs, footsteps pause. Nora's door creaks. In the kitchen, Ethan's shadow lingers by the sink, phone in hand, the video already sent. The air hums with what comes next. Reactions unspoken, bonds tested. Can this voice, captured and unyielding, rewrite their story? In the immediate aftermath, as the video's echoes settled, the family faced the raw fallout together. The living room hung in a hush, the kind that pressed against the walls like damp fog. Mara sat on the edge of the sofa, her hands folded in her lap, knuckles white against the faded floral pattern. The confession, Ethan's raw video playback, his voice cracking over pixels, still echoed in the air, though the screen had gone dark. Nora hovered by the doorway, her eyes wide and searching, 16 years old and already carrying too much. Ethan slumped in the armchair across from them, his face a map of regret, staring at the carpet as if it held answers. Mara drew a breath, the silence thickening around her chest. "Nora," she said, her voice steady, but threaded with something new. "Resolve, perhaps. I need you to go to your room for a bit. Just give me space to think." Nora's lips parted, a flicker of hurt crossing her face. "Mom? But we just—" "Please," Mara cut in, softer now, but firm. The word landed like a boundary drawn in sand. Nora nodded slowly, her sneakers scuffing the floor as she backed away, glancing once at her father. The door to the hall clicked shut behind her, leaving the room to the two of them, and the weight between. Ethan shifted, his eyes lifting to meet Mara's, for the first time since the video ended. "I didn't mean for it to—" "Don't," Mara said, holding up a hand. The quiet stretched, not empty, but charged, like the pause before a storm breaks. She rose, crossing to the mantel where the family photo frame sat, its glass etched with a single, jagged crack that had widened over months. First a hairline from some forgotten bump, now a deliberate split down the center. Their smiling faces stared back, frozen in a summer long past, her arm around Ethan, Nora's gap-toothed grin. Mara traced the fracture with her fingertip, the cool edge biting into her skin. It wasn't just glass. It was them, pieced together, yet irreparably marked. "I kept thinking if I stayed quiet, we'd fix it," she murmured, more to herself than him. The words hung, pulling the silence toward something sharper. Clarity, maybe. Ethan's shoulders sagged further, the full, solitary ache of his admission settling in. No defenses left, just the man he'd become, alone with the wreckage. Upstairs, Nora's door creaked open just a sliver, her shadow lingering in the hall light. Mara heard the faint rustle, a new rhythm forming in the spaces they'd carve out. Not isolation, but breathing room. Honesty had shattered the old frame, but in the shards, possibilities glinted, reassembly, or something entirely new. How did one rebuild when the picture no longer fit? The question lingered, unanswered, as the house exhaled into the night.